Hey everyone, it's Miss Kristy from East Pennsboro Library, and I am here with another virtual craft for Valentine's Day for you. Today I'm going to show you how to make a wreath for Valentine's Day. It's kind of a little three-dimensional and has some bounce to it, and I'm going to take that down and show you in a few minutes what that looks like and work you through some of the directions. So let's take a look at what we're going to do. Here's what your project will look like when you're all done, and they are bouncy. You can't see that clearly in the picture, but I'll show you when I start to explain how to make the wreath. Let's take a look at what kinds of materials you're going to need for this project. White poster board, cardstock, or even an old cardboard box. I made my first heart out of poster board, and I painted it just so it had a little background. And then I made the exact same size heart out of a piece of cardboard to make it a little bit stronger. Red, white, pink, purple paint, any color that you want to use. It's a heart-shaped wreath, but hearts aren't only for Valentine's Day. Maybe you have somebody who has some favorite colors like orange and red and green, and you could make them a wreath. Bubble wrap, which is what makes the design on the hearts on the wreath. A paintbrush, scissors, yarn to hang it, a pencil, glue, either a glue gun or regular white glue or a glue stick will work. Your creativity and any kind of things you want to add to it for decorations like glitter or those little hearts I showed you in the video before. I'll show you a couple things maybe that you could use. So let's look at the directions quickly. And then I'll do each thing for you and show you exactly how we're going to do it. First thing you're going to do is cut a heart out of poster board the size of the wreath. I made a medium-sized one. And I'm going to take this down so I can show you what I'm doing. So you see I cut that out of the poster board. And then I cut a hole in the center, about a 3/4 to an inch I left so that I had a place to glue the little hearts on. Then you're going to paint, and I'll show you how to do that using the bubble wrap all over the other sheet of paper. Once that's dry, you're going to cut smaller hearts out that'll fit around it. You're going to cut small strips using any extra poster board to make the spring. See how that is like kind of on a spring for the hearts, and you're going to glue them onto the wreath until you have them around the entire wreath, and then you can decorate it. This one I used glitter on. You can hang it up anywhere you want. So let's get this project started. All right, so the first step is to make the outline for the wreath. And what I did was I got a big piece of poster board from Dollar Tree, and I just folded half of it. I cut it in half and I folded half of it like this. And I'm going to put the computer down so that you can see what I'm doing. And I drew the outline of a big heart here. And the one nice thing is it doesn't have to be perfect, because I can already see that that's going to be a little bit, that's why I'm using pencil. But one of the things about projects like this is any kind of mistake you make, you can correct by putting some decorations on it. So I just drew, I hope you can see that. So I can make that a little bit. I drew a heart on half of the paper, and I'm going to cut that out quickly here for the shape of the wreath. All right, and open that up, and now I have a big heart, like, there we go. I have a big heart like this. Now I'm just going to cut about an inch the inside out of the heart so that I have a place to glue on the other hearts. All right, so now I have the shape for my wreath. I painted this, and then I glued mine onto a piece of, I took an old piece of cardboard, and I glued mine onto an old piece of cardboard. And then I went ahead and did the rest of the project. So that's something that you might want to keep in mind to do with yours. So the next step is I'm going to lay this to the side for a few minutes here. And I do have some cardboard down. The second piece of paper is where you're going to paint. And all I did was just cut it into more manageable strips, or a more manageable size. And I took bubble wrap. I tried a couple different kinds. If you get any Amazon Prime packages in these blue and white, that seemed to be the bubble wrap that worked the best for this project. I just cut a piece of it out like this. And I took my paint, I'm going to do red this time, and dip the brush in it. Oh no. Tell you what, let's do it like this. Pour some paint in here. I just dipped the brush in, and I painted across the bubble wrap like this with the paint, because then it doesn't gob up and you're not getting too much paint onto the bubble wrap. I just painted a piece of bubble wrap like that, and then I put it very gently onto my paper like that. You can usually get 2 out of 1 paint job, and then I just painted it again, painted again. It also makes less mess when you do it like this. I painted it again and just did the same thing. And it makes a really, really nice little polka dot pattern. And then what I did was, once my red was completely dry on a couple sheets to make these little hearts out of, this is what my goal is, to make these little tiny hearts like this. I then took pink paint and I went over and put pink on top also. All right, so once your painting is all dry, you can see this is a piece that's already dry. It has the pink and the red. You need to figure out what size smaller heart you want to use on the outline of your wreath. And at first I made a big one, but that was just a little bit too big. So I cut mine down and I made a smaller heart. And then what I did was I took whatever size I wanted based on what fit around my wreath, and I just went ahead and traced. I'll show you what I'm doing here. I always flip it on the other side, trace the pattern. On the back, and then when I cut these out, they'll be this side with the design. So I went ahead and just traced as many of those as I would need to fill up around the ring of my heart. And the very last step I did then was the part that made it kind of fun. I added the spring into the hearts. If you can see, it kind of jiggles a little bit. They're actually attached with a little piece of cardboard. So all you have to do, I happen to have some note cards, but you could use your extra card stock, your extra piece from this you could use, because that will be enough tension. And I just cut a strip like this. And I folded it once, twice, 3 times. And I cut the extra off. And I glued this part to the back of the heart. Let me go ahead and do that for you quickly. All right, so I took this little spring that I made then, and I just glued it. Took one of the edges of it like this, glued it to the back of the heart. You can see I glued it to the back of one of the hearts. And then I started at the bottom and I worked my way up. I put a little bit of glue on this part right here on the little spring part, and I just glued it. Let's see if you can see what I'm doing here. I just glued it right down on like that, and it gave it a little bit of spring. And then I did the same thing on the next one. 1, 2, 3, and trim that off. That one was a little too big, and I glued my spring on. And then I glued the next heart in place here underneath that one. And see, now they have a little bit of spring, and you can fill up around the entire wreath. And then you can decorate it any way that you want to. I put some glitter on this one. I was thinking you could use feathers. I have feathers. You could use these little kind of hearts that they have out for Valentine's Day, glitter, beads. Really, you can decorate the wreath any way you want. And it's a great little fun project that you can hang up for Valentine's Day or maybe send to somebody. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. And as always, Miss Kristy has to remind you, I made a new Valentine mask out of some leftover felt. Always remember when you go out to mask up so that I can see you again really soon. Have a great weekend.